can go ahead and get started. I'm sure we'll have more people joining us. I think that the COVID-19 panel is just wrapping up, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ran a little bit over. But for those of you guys who are joining me, my name is Caitlin Tillett. I am the Digital Marketing Manager for Wildlife Conservation Network. And today I'm really excited that I get to moderate the session with John Lukas and Lukas Meers from Okapi Conservation Project. I think these sessions are really cool because they give you an opportunity to interact and to ask questions to our conservationists who are all over the world. So you can really learn more about John and Lukas, their story, their work, and what they're doing to protect Okapi, the Okapi Conservation Project. So although we can't be together in person, it gives us a chance. So you can participate in a few different ways. And I want to, hopefully I can make this clear. It was a little bit unclear in the first session we did. So if you'd like to join us live on camera, in your video panel, you'll see the button that says request permission. Click that button if you want to be on camera with us live and ask questions to John and Lukas. We'll probably allow 3 to 4 people in at a time. If you just want to submit questions via chat, you don't have to request permission, so you don't have to hit that little button. All you need to do is just type straight into the chat box on the right. You can ask any questions that you'd like, and I'll go ahead and ask those questions for John and Lukas. We probably won't be able to get to all the questions today, but we will download the chat box, and we will get back to everyone via email about their questions that they have. And then also you can just sit back and relax and enjoy. You don't have to ask questions. You can just learn and kind of absorb the information if you'd like. So with that being said, I want to take a moment to introduce both of our speakers, our conservationists, to you guys today. So I'll start off with John Lukas. John Lukas has over 40 years of experience in wildlife conservation. He received his master's degree in zoology from Northeastern University and served as a resident curator in New York Zoological Society's Rare Animal Survival Center, and then spent 30 years at the helm of white oak conservation. But Okapi are one of John's deep passions. In 1987, he founded the Okapi Conservation Project, which works in the Democratic Republic of Congo to protect the wildlife population of Okapi, which is a large, rarely seen mammal that lives in the dense jungles of the DRC in Central Africa. And it's threatened by illegal mining and poaching. But I'm sure both John and Lukas will tell you lots more about that. John is currently based at the Jacksonville Zoo in Florida and travels to the Democratic Republic of Congo, excuse me, several times a year to guide the Okapi field team in their critical work to protect Okapi. And then Lukas Meers is the program officer for Okapi Conservation Project, or what we like to say a lot is OCP to shorten it, where he has supported several aspects of the organization's programs, communications, and fundraising since 2016. Lukas works with zoos and other partners to bring awareness of the endangered Okapi species across cultures through various outlets, including events, social media, and donor relations. Lukas is instrumental in world over and is a way to celebrate Okapi's support for the conservation efforts of this really unique species. Lukas also serves as a liaison with the OCP's field team in the Democratic Republic of Congo and travels there once a year to support the team and help them fulfill their mission. So John and Lukas, we have a lot of people joining us today who are brand new to WCN and brand new to learning about the Okapi Conservation Project. So John, if you want to take a couple minutes and just introduce what OCP is and how you guys are protecting the Okapi, and share any other updates that you might want to before we dive in and start answering questions.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for having an opportunity to speak to you, for WCN for carrying on with the expo during this pandemic, which is affecting all how we live and try to do our work. I've been working in the Congo since 1987. The Okapi was not threatened and endangered back then, just unknown to the Western world. It wasn't discovered by Western science until 1901. Caitlin, there's a big echo on my end. Can we kind of ask people to mute their microphones or something?
A little bit fuzzy, but I am on mute and so is Lucas. So it might just be who you're hearing, but I can't hear you clearly. Thanks, John.
Yeah, I'm just going to big echo when I'm speaking, so that's all I'm saying. But we're going to get through this the first time for doing it. The Okapi is a very unusual animal. You can see the picture on the entrance page to get into this session. It's a forest giraffe. It lives in the rainforest. It practices social distancing because it's solitary, avoids its other Okapi, and so it just moves to the forest eating leaves. Very difficult to encounter because they have great sense of smell and hearing. And so our work with them is based mainly on observations and working with the Ibuki pygmies and other ways and looking for signs. They are herbivores. They do defecate a lot, so you can find their feces and their signs of eating to know them. And recently, we've been using camera traps to document their occurrence in many parts of the Okapi Wild Reserve. When we started this project, the Okapi was not really well known, and so we work with the people of Congo who value the Okapi. It's their symbol of conservation, a national animal for the people of, and this stands for all the diversity of this great country in Central Africa. Working with the government, we got the Okapi Wildlife Reserve created in 1992, became a World Heritage Site in 1996. And I think, and since that time, there's been one series of tragic events occurring in Congo since then, which you're probably fully aware of, from civil war, Ebola epidemic, and a constant state of civil disorder and lack of government control of most activities in the country. But through that all, the Okapi have done well, and our team has done well because our work is with the people who want to live with Okapi, who want to live with each other, and want to conserve their resources. So our team of educators and agroforestry work with the 50,000 people working around the reserve. The threats are typical for most forests: slash and burn agriculture, logging, mining, and poaching. We'll get into the COVID part of this a little bit, but basically, I'm standing in for our staff of 47 Congolese that are on the front lines working every day. They're tremendously dedicated people that work hard in very dangerous situations to advance conservation, not just of Okapi, but of elephants and chimpanzees and all the wildlife that the Okapi stand for in DRC. We can talk a little bit about the COVID after I let Lucas just kind of introduce himself and kind of get into the session.
Thanks.
Thanks, John. I'll make it a little bit short so we can get into questions, because I know you guys want to, I want to answer what you guys want to know. But I first fell in love with Okapi when I first visited St. Louis Zoo when I was very young, and I had no idea what the animal was, but I did, in fact, I love animals, I love nature. And then, as luck would have it, when I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, where I'm based now, to go to school in the early 2000s. After graduation, I started working at the Jacksonville Zoo and Gardens, where I met John, and that's where I got connected with the Okapi Conservation Project, and the rest is history. I love working with Okapi. They're the coolest animal you've never heard of, and I love working with the people, and it's just a fantastic program. The people are on the ground are really the ones that are carrying this project. They're the resilient, dedicated people working through all of the trying times that we're going through, and we're here just representing them.
Thank you both. So I'm going to go ahead. We've got a bunch of questions coming in. I'm going to Roderick on screen first, and then RJ. Hopefully these, let's see how this works out. Oh, RJ, are you there? Let's see. Sometimes the requests disappear. Let's try Doug and Judy. Oh, looks like we have maybe somebody coming up. Nope. Okay, so we'll take in questions from the chat now. So I guess we can start with some questions about the threats to Okapi, because I know that's a huge issue facing Okapi. Can can you guys elaborate a little bit more about how mining impacts Okapi, and is habitat destruction or toxic runoffs that hurt them more? And this question's from Bill Wang.
Thank you for the question. Basically, Okapi are very sensitive to human disturbances. So any noise or even the smell of humans would make Okapi move out of an area. But the major threat to mining brings is that miners usually live off of bushmeat. And hunters move into an area with around mines to supply the food for the miners. Okapi are normally a threat for bushmeat because they move away before the hunters can get there, but it just disturbs the whole ecosystem and everybody has to move about. So that's what we're dealing with.
Thanks, John.
I just want the major threat to Okapi really is slash and burn agriculture.
Okay.
Because without forests, there's no Okapi.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about your agroforestry projects, with that being such a huge threat?
Well, within the Okapi Wildlife Reserve, there's zones for agriculture dedicated to feed the people in the area. But their normal agricultural practices are quite destructive on soil fertility and don't last long. And the people keep moving deeper in the forest, cutting trees. And so what we try to do is encourage them to practice agriculture that keeps the land fertile for 5 to 6 times longer and recovers faster. Plus, we introduce trees and fruits and other vegetables and higher protein vegetables that they can live off. So what we've seen is the people do not have to move out of the agricultural zone after 15 years. And normally they get out of those in 1 or 2 years, and they're still in the same place. So the role of agriculture is teaching people how to grow food in a sustainable way in the rainforest and minimize intrusion into forest zones. The second thing about slash agriculture, people become a greater contact with the wildlife. As they move deeper into forest, they have a lot of animal-wildlife conflict with elephants and chimpanzees and primates, and this causes a disassociation of the people and the wildlife. Normally, they tolerate wildlife, but if they steal their food, they don't tolerate it.
Thank you. So this question from Roderick, I think I was trying to bring up on screen. He must have chatted his question in. About how many zoos in the world have Okapi, and how many of these zoos support OCP?
So Lucas is in charge of that. I'll turn over to Lucas to provide that answer.
Awesome.
Thanks, John. So thanks, Roderick. About 60 to 70 zoos around the world, primarily in the United States and Europe, but there are a few zoos elsewhere in other countries that do have Okapi, and roughly 85% of those zoos that have Okapi support our work. And one thing that we really rely on zoos not only for the funding, for a lot of our operational expenses and support for our projects, but really the exposure, because so much of the world does not know that Okapi exist, and the only place that you can really see Okapi is in zoos. That's what first inspired me to first love Okapi. I know I have a lot of strong relationships with the Okapi keepers, and they always talk very highly of our project. And I know it's very rare to see Okapi in the wild. John's been working there for, 33 years, and I don't think you've seen an Okapi in the wild. I certainly haven't, only working with the project for 4 years, but they provide a significant portion of our support and exposure for the wider world.
Let's bring another question in the chat. So this question's from Molly Mills. How is the current pandemic affecting Okapi conservation in the DRC?
So the pandemic is just starting in DRC. About 3 weeks ago, the first cases came into Kinshasa, the capital, from France. A lot of people, Congolese, have connections in France, and they go back and forth because of French-speaking countries. And so what DRC did was really amazing. As soon as they had 2 cases, they locked down the entire country, closed all the borders, closed all movement, and even closed down the neighborhood where these disease people were found, because most of the wealthy people that can travel live in one area, Kinshasa, so they could isolate them there very quickly. As of yesterday, there was 359 cases in Congo with 25 deaths. We know that's not really accurate because of the test, but it's an example. And so our approach has been to prepare our staff and our communities for the arrival. One advantage Congo has is we've been dealing with Ebola in the East for 2.5 years, which is another contagious virus. You don't have to educate the people about how these viruses are spread. They don't shake hands, they stay apart. We have hand washing stations everywhere. People wash their hands all the time. So if any country has any advantage, believe it or not, one of the poorest countries in the world may have an advantage. They understand what they're dealing with without having, like even our country, we don't have people understand what they're dealing with. They kind of say this is nothing, but they know when most of these people have relatives die of Ebola, so they take this very seriously.
Interesting point, and one I haven't thought about here in the United States. Sometimes people take it seriously in a country like the DRC, where they're very familiar of viruses like that, taking this very seriously. I'm going to take a question now from Wendy. She's asking, any idea when the Ituri region will be safe enough to open up the reserve to visitors again?
Well, that's a hard question. We were getting close before this pandemic. We were getting really close. But the pandemic has again created an atmosphere of kind of opportunism for a lot of the militias and rogue groups in the Congo. There was an attack in Virunga National Park yesterday where 12 rangers were killed. The attack was on the community. It wasn't on the rangers. The rangers were defending the community members. We've had an incident recently near us. So again, if the pandemic goes through with little major effect on the Congo, I think we'll come back quickly because it was moving very fast after the new presidential elections last year. So hopefully, got to check back with it. I'm hoping in a year we were really getting close to having people come back in. So I think like every place in the world, we have to hit the reset button right now and see what happens.
Definitely, it's hard to make really any plans for the future right now with everything that's going on. The question from Carolyn, she's asking, with the camera trapping program, is there a particular behavior you are most interested in learning more about?
Lukas, you come in a second, but what we've seen is we've had Okapi at our station for many years. We had 16 Okapi there. We had researchers watch them all the time. We learned a lot about Okapi. But what we are now is we're documenting the same behavior in the wild. We saw them under our managed conditions. For one instance, male okapis like to walk over low shrubs and urinate on the low shrubs as they walk, marking their territory. You really wouldn't see that, but now we've seen that, behavior. They're grooming where they can reach every part of their body with their tongue is an amazing thing. One of the videos, you can just watch them grooming themselves all over when they're in the station area. So, Lukas, you might have some favorite comments from some of the videos we've taken back from Congo.
Well, not only, we basically want to learn anything that there is about Okapi, particularly wild Okapi, and we can share that with any of our zoo partners so they can adapt any of the human care situations that Okapi are in. But also, we just want to know where Okapi are. We know that they're in the reserve, and we do have camera traps placed in strategic locations around the reserve. But just to kind of see where they are, we are working on studies to see density of various Okapi populations. But then one thing that we really enjoy doing is sharing the camera trap footage with a lot of the communities. Because as John said, we did have Okapi at the station, and the communities around Apulu could visit on field trips to see Okapi, but after the attack in 2012, we no longer have Okapi at the station, but we share the footage with the communities because, again, you won't see Okapi in the wild, but then we also use it to share the cool footage with our wider audience to help people educate each other on Okapi.
It proved that they really do exist.
Yeah, exactly. They are the African unicorn. But they really
we
exist.
We have no problem getting video Okapi.
Yeah.
In prime habitat, they're there. It's really amazing. We have male and females together, mother and calves together. We have different ages. So it's actually a good indication of the health of the environment and the health of the population.
With that, we're getting a lot of questions about people wondering if there's any truth to the rumor that Okapi are also appear in Uganda.
Appear in what?
Uganda.
Not now at this time. They probably were. The Semliki Valley is on the border between Congo and Uganda. There's a river that divides it. And I think they probably did exist in Uganda, but there's been several surveys in that region. There's no sign of Okapi on the Ugandan side, but there is Okapi on the Congo side. But it's a very insecure area, and people really can't go in there. So what we work with is a lot outside of London, maybe a population of 50 Okapi in that part of Virunga National Park along the Ugandan border. There is a park across the river in Uganda. And so maybe someday pretty crops in the future.
Okay, RJ, I just if you want to your screen when you're not talking. Perfect. There was a bit of an echo. But RJ, I just brought him up. We'd love to know if you have a question for Lukas and John.
Sure. I was just wondering if you had any success with satellite collaring, if you've ever been able to collar any of these guys.
Can you speak? I didn't quite get it.
I was just asking if you've had any success with satellite collaring or oxycone collaring of the Okapi.
We have not tried that yet. It's very difficult. We haven't put a collar on any Okapi. John and Terry Hart did it back in the late 70s, early 80s, and the collars only, but the satellite ones, we like to try them, but what we can even do, their home range is so small, 5 square kilometers, pygmies can track them and trail them. You can find and follow Okapi very easily to know where they are. It's not difficult to stay on an Okapi's trail. So what we learned by satellite is their movements, but their movements are pretty restricted, and so and it's not really of a benefit right now for what we're trying to do.
Cheers.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and bring up Ruby. Ruby, when you come up, if you could just go ahead and mute your sound. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask a question from Jacqueline. Jacqueline's asking how, if you can comment how indigenous tribes fit into the conservation picture with Okapi Conservation Project.
Well, this is critical. We work with the Mbuti pygmies in our region. They've always worked with us. We feel obligated to help them, but we also feel obligated not to corrupt them. Their indigenous ways have the same needs as Okapi. They need an intact, functioning forest ecosystem, and they will do fine. Once the forest is degraded, they have trouble just like Okapi would have. So conserving Okapi habitat conserves the home of the Mbuti, and we feel the best thing we can do for them is to make sure that the habitat is there. We provide medical care to a lot of Mbuti, and because they're afraid to come in to medical facilities because of their difference in cultural needs for medical care. We just finished an addition to our clinic. We built special rooms for the Mbuti, where they could have a fire inside. They're not comfortable without a fire. They need a fire at night. They don't cook on this fire. They cook on a fire outside, but the fire at night is their spiritual thing that calms them during the night and provides them with a peace to sleep. So our rooms, they can have a fire when they're in a hospital room, which is how we feel, how important we want to honor their cultural things. And Lukas, you were pretty impressed with the Mbuti, so if you can add a few comments there, it'd be pretty nice.
Well, I think I had an experience with them when I first traveled to Congo. I actually visited one of their pygmy camps, so I got to spend a lot of time with them, understanding how they hunt, because they are allowed to hunt within the reserve in select areas. but really getting a better idea of their culture. And one thing that we recently started doing is incorporating them in camera trapping. So we provide them additional income if they are, to purchase additional food, to go around and check some of our camera traps. They also help set up a lot of our camera traps, and they have this innate ability. They know the forest like the back of their hand. And so they really want to be involved with a lot of our camera trapping work. So we have them involved in setting the camera traps, checking the camera traps, and doing a lot of the work alongside with us.
Just to add a comment to that, last time I was there, I gave 5 pygmy chiefs $20 to give us any information about Okapi. And so next time they come back, we could see if it was a worthwhile project. I think within 6 days, they found a mother Okapi and her calf to tell us they've already earned their money. So that was it.
That story. Thanks for sharing that, John. So it looks like time for one more question, and I'm going to ask the one from Gareth because it touches on something we haven't talked much about yet. So he's asking, with Okapi being a flagship species, is there a lot of school education programs in Congo? Or if not, how are you guys working with education to bring awareness about Okapi within the DRC?
Well, we have 9 educators that work for us. We have 5 officers on reserve at their base. They're integral parts of the community. They lecture at the schools. They go to the meetings of the elders. They meet with the government officials, and they go around just listening. The most important thing they do is they listen. What are the people's issues? What are their problems? How can we help them? And so that's the first step. And then we have women's groups we support, which are major members of the community that help them get the message out. So conservation education is mainly focused around forest conservation and wise use of resources, sustainable use of resources. And that's what the educators are working with the communities are, because especially the women, they see the long-term effect of the degradation of habitat. And they know they have to feed their family. They have to find firewood. They have to get clean water. Without an intact system, that doesn't happen. And they know that. So education is based around women and children in schools mainly, because these are the uses of the resources of the forest. Lucas, any comments? You've been involved with our education team.
Yeah, definitely. So our 9 educators actually work on creating an education curricula that incorporates not only the importance of protecting the forest, but also sustainable use of resources, but how that relates to health and sanitation. So when they're younger, they start out learning basic principles like how to wash your hands, basic sanitation and health principles, things that we often take for granted here. And that kind of forms the basis of our education on protecting the forest. So I think we also have a little bit of an advantage because of that education program, how we were already tying in the importance of health and sanitation and how that relates to sustainable resource use and protection of the forest, and relating to current events with the current pandemic that we're in. So I think we are really helping children understand the intersection of human behavior and health and how it relates to the surrounding environment.
It's just one of our projects is rebuilding water sources.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can have clean drinking water. We're actually just finishing 4 water sources in the north, a town called Wamba. Easily 20,000 people, mostly women and girls, will have access to clean drinking water for cooking and washing because of this project. And we have a donor, WCN donor, and has funded this project. So, when you do that for a community, you make a lot of friends. So when we say to them, please stay in the agricultural zones, please tell us if you think it's a poacher in the area, tell us if you think some miners are going through, they'll tell us. And so that's what we want is, we have 50,000 eyes and ears watching how the research is being taken care of.
Wonderful. I think one thing is the community approach to conservation and how you just involve everyone in the community and your women's empowerment programs and all of that. So we do need to wrap up, but I wanted to give both John and Lucas a moment to just say goodbye and say anything maybe that they felt like they didn't get to say yet, and maybe what is bringing you hope these days for Okapi, for our future.
So I just want to follow up what we were just talking about, in that because we care about the people, the government and the local respect us, and they listen to us. So the only way to change the culture or change uses is through people, but also through government. Government controls how people act, especially in a country like Congo. So we have the ear of the government in Kinshasa, the local administrator. The governor is a good friend of ours in our province, a good friend of conservation. That's how you make change. And the reason we're able to do that is because we care about the people. We care about the wildlife, but more importantly, we care about the people. And they know that. It gives us a great respect. And I think we've been through a lot of things before, and I think we'll get through this. That's gives me hope. Congo is the most resilient place in the world. They have the greatest difficulties, more diseases than you could ever count, more trouble, more food insecurity. But these people, they get through every day with a smile and with a laugh and a song. And we can learn a lot from them. So that's what gives me hope, is the people we're working with. And the Okapi can take care of itself if we just give them a forest to live in. Thank you for all joining our session, and hopefully we'll see you at a real expo sometime in the future.
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to say anything?
I think, John, I feel like you did a fantastic job covering that. But yeah, I just want to say, in these times of uncertainty and difficulty, I think leading with care and empathy and understanding what other people are going through, that's really how we're going to make a change. Using empathy and understanding people's issues, and getting people together to work together, because as cliche as it is, we're all in this together to make the world a better place. So thanks for joining.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're going to take a 15-minute break, and then you can join us on screen on the main stage for a presentation by Grevy Zebra Trust. And just know, if we didn't get to your question, we will be following up with you via email. So don't worry, we will get back to you. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Caitlin, so much, Caitlin. Thank you.
Thanks, Caitlin. Thank you, David, too.
Bye.